Welcome to the Fleet Geeks podcast. We're here to help develop fleet and transport professionals. Do you want to progress and develop your skills and knowledge? We promise to bring lively conversation and debate around interesting issues and keep you bang up to date with changes in our awesome industry. The Fleet Geeks are a community of professionals, and if you enjoy the podcast, why not join the discussion for free in the Fleet Geek community over on Facebook. Hello and welcome to today's Fleet Geeks podcast. Here I'm talking about mentoring, or the mechanics of mentoring for fleet managers. So from time to time, you might get asked to mentor colleagues, and support develop them. Potentially new transport managers, new fleet managers, people new in the role. And I just wanted to talk about, because sometimes we get asked to do this thing called mentoring, and you might not know exactly how to do it or what you're doing or that kind of thing. So I thought I'd do a quick podcast just outlining what mentoring is. So first of all, we need to think about a mentor's mindset. Okay, so that's the first thing. What's the mindset of a mentor? We need to understand the difference between a mentor, a coach, a friend, and a manager, for example. So a manager is someone who's someone's boss. A friend is someone who is their friend. Coaching and mentoring. So what's the difference between the role of a mentor and a coach? So in my opinion, a mentor is someone who has lived experience, usually further along the line than someone who they're mentoring. So therefore they draw their advice and guidance based on their experience. Okay, so referring back to their experience. A coach is slightly different. A coach is there to get the best out of somebody. They don't necessarily need to have had the same experience. A coach doesn't offer solutions. They ask questions. The purpose of coaching is to coax out of somebody their best performance, that they already know what the answer is, but you help to support them to achieve it. So there's a key differentiator. So we need to understand what the role of the mentor is. So a mentor is someone who uses their experience to provide guidance and support and education to someone else. Okay. They need to have a growth mindset. So to be a mentor, you need to have a growth mindset. And what does that mean? Well, that's understanding that people aren't fixed and you're not fixed, and that by growing, developing, nurturing, and learning, you're able to grow, develop, and improve, as is the person that you're mentoring. Okay. If you believe, well, it doesn't matter what I tell them because they won't change, you're not going to be a very good mentor. You need to make sure that you really understand that growth mindset. The more time you invest in that person, the more you support them, the more they're going to grow and improve. The third key thing about the mindset is about not being judgmental. Okay, and making sure that you're present in the moment. So sometimes people listen just to respond. Okay, and that means they're not present because they're thinking about what they're going to say. And the second thing is they're judging, they're making a judgment of what the other person's saying before they ask or say the next thing. So it's really important that we don't judge. Mentors are not to judge, and they're to make sure that they're present in the moment. The next is around sharing the power of belief. So one of the things that a mentor must do from a mindset perspective is show their mentee that they believe in them. Okay, it's about providing confidence and support. And then the next one is around holding space for them. So that means putting this thing away. It means making sure that you make yourself available. You're not checking your phone. You're not checking your watch. Those kinds of things. You need to make sure you hold that space for people, and you need to be able to listen and without the need to fix things for them. You're there to support. Okay. So there's a few tips to the mindset you need for mentoring. What are some of the skills that you need for mentorship? The first is active listening. So listening to really understand and not just reply, and making sure you're understanding the things that aren't said and demonstrating empathy in the way that you respond when you do listen. Okay. Active listening is really, really important. The next is around powerful questioning, asking open-ended questions that will encourage self-discovery. So by asking great quality questions, hold space for the person to actually really think about it. If the other person's silent, it's really tempting, like in a conversation, to fill the gap and fill the space. My advice is don't. If someone's silent, it's because they're thinking, and your role is to encourage them to think more for themselves. So you hold that space and don't respond. Okay.
Hi, Hi, I'm Shani from Flagship Partners. We're proud to sponsor the Fleet Geeks podcast, your go-to source for all things fleet management. If you're looking for expert advice or high-quality training for your fleet business, make Flagship Partners your first choice. We're also thrilled to announce the launch of our Fleet Academy, designed to support and develop future fleet leaders through expert-led and career-focused training. Our offering includes fully accredited courses such as the Transport Manager CPC training, CPC refresher courses, OLAC training, plus ongoing mentoring, support and professional development beyond the qualification. Our vision is simple: to develop elite fleet professionals who drive excellence across the industry. Let's shape the future of our fleet management together.
When you ask someone something and they give you a response, so you're mentoring somebody and you ask them, they give you a response, always ask, well, what else? What else? And what this does is this helps them dig deeper, and it helps trigger them to think more too. Use silence as a tool. Silence is really useful. By being silent, you're encouraging the other person to really think for themselves. Okay, so far, active listening, powerful questioning. The next is around giving feedback. So when we give feedback, I use an SBI model: situation, behavior, impact. So this is what's happened. This is a situation. You did this, the behavior, and this is the impact it had. Really good model for you being able to give someone feedback around the impact of their behavior. Okay. Make sure that your feedback is balanced and future focused. There's no such thing as constructive feedback. There's no such thing as negative feedback, just developmental feedback, and frame it that way. Developmental feedback is someone's opportunity to develop and grow. So you need to give them developmental feedback. And avoid fixing things for people unless you're asked to. Does that make sense? Like, it's about getting the other person to fix things for themselves and for you to guide them into how to do that, or to support them to think about how to do it for themselves. So that feedback's really important. The next is around goal setting and having accountability. So if you're mentoring somebody, you want the mentee to clarify their goals. So they have a really clear set of goals, and you have to hold them accountable to it without judgment. Okay. So you need to make sure that you are going, well, when are you going to have it done by? And then you follow up. So you're encouraging ownership, but not dependency. Okay. And then the final one is around boundaries and confidentiality. So from a skill set perspective, you need to set clear expectations for your relationship. Chatham House rules: what's said in the room stays in the room, and knowing when to signpost to give someone support because it's maybe out of your arena or skill set. So there's 5 key skills you need for mentoring: active listening, powerful questioning, giving feedback, goal setting and accountability, boundaries and confidentiality. And then the next thing is thinking about the process or your toolkit for mentoring. What's the first meeting? How are you going to create the development plan? How are you going to check in? How regularly? How are you going to document the process? And what's the closure of the mentoring process? So you need to make sure you have a clear process. And then you need to have your own self-awareness is another tip from me. So what are your triggers and biases as a mentor? And how are you going to not impose your judgments on the other person? Okay. Really, really useful for you to reflect on what's useful for them and what isn't, and how you've shaped your prejudices and your own triggers and biases. Okay. One of the things to be really comfortable with is difficult conversations, but otherwise, I think that's probably it for today. I do offer a mentoring training course where I go into these principles in a lot more depth and give people a lot more guidance. But I think the principles are very much the same. I think we need to focus on making sure we've got the right mindset for mentoring. If you're going to be mentoring someone else, you need to be in the right frame of mind. You don't want to push your negativity onto someone else. So you need to be in a positive, non-judgmental and helpful frame of mind with a growth mindset. That's really fundamental. It's having that growth mindset where you believe that you can grow and that other people can grow and develop. And it's also about instilling that belief. The last thing you want to do is shred someone's confidence by being a really harsh mentor for them. You want to demonstrate that you know how to unlock that person's confidence and how to support them as best you can, as well as making sure you hold that space. those key skills of mentorship that I mentioned, making sure that we properly listen to people, making sure that we ask really powerful questions. And a powerful question isn't necessarily why do you think that? It might be, tell me about that. It might be, people will go, oh, I don't know. And then you can say, well, if you were to know, what would it be? There are powerful questions that you can ask people, as well as being able to give feedback is really important for a mentee. So you give people feedback, not based on positivity or negativity, but just on objective things that you notice. Situation, behavior, impact is one of the models I really like. Okay, so you clearly outline what the situation is, how the person has handled it, what they've done, and the impact that that's had. Because then what you can do is, when you look at the impact, you go, well, if you want to have a different impact, how are you going to behave differently? How are you going to respond better? Okay, excuse me. Making sure that we set goals and keep people accountable to them. There's no point setting goals if there's no accountability, because they just keep rolling and never end up happening. So we've got to make sure that we hold people accountable and make sure that we encourage ownership and not dependency. Because one of the things is, if you fix everything for somebody, they end up becoming dependent on you. And it's so important that they understand it's on them. And make sure you have boundaries and confidentiality. It's really, really important that you keep people's confidence, but also that you make sure there are boundaries around what can and can't be said. Make sure you create the process, have an agreement of how you're going to start, how you're going to finish, what the process is in between, what's the development plan, making sure you document the process, and make sure that you have check-ins that fit for both of you. So those are my top tips for mentoring, the mechanics of mentoring for fleet managers. I hope that's helpful. I hope it's interesting. We do run a training course on this stuff. If you're interested to find out more, please do give me a shout. Thank you very much. And I will see you on the next podcast.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please share with your friends and colleagues too. Join us for free on Facebook with the Fleet Geeks community for transport and fleet managers. Fleet Geeks offers ongoing professional development, networking and mentoring too. So get in touch with me, Pete Rushmer, on any social media platform to find out more.